Would you lend money to a government or a company if they promise to pay you back with interest? Well, that's basically what a bond is. And I'm not talking about the secret agent that saves the world and drinks martinis, although that would be pretty cool. But anyway, let's dive into what is a bond, why do people invest in them, and some of the risks associated with bonds. Alright, so what is a bond? A bond is effectively an IOU. You lend out money, and in return, you get paid interest over a period of time, and at the end of that period of time, you get paid back your original loan amount. So let's take a super simple example. Let's say that you have a friend that wants to borrow $100, and you agree that they will pay you 6% interest in monthly installments over the course of a year. So what does that mean in reality? In reality, that means that they're going to pay you 50 cents for 12 months, or $6 over the course of a year, and at the end of that year, they're going to pay you back the original $100. That's how a bond works, except in the finance world, instead of your friend owing you money, it's either a company or a government. So why do people invest in bonds? They invest in bonds for a few reasons, and the first one is that they pay you. So most bonds give you regular interest payments, which means you're generating passive income, and that can be really appealing depending on your life circumstances. The second reason is they're safer than stocks, because stock prices can be really volatile, but in general bond prices are pretty stable. But also, let's just say that a company goes bankrupt. In the bankruptcy proceedings, when they start selling all of the assets of the company, the bondholders will get paid before the stockholders will. The last reason is they help diversify. So owning a mix of stocks and bonds can generally help reduce your risk, because if one of them drops in value, the other one might be holding steady. So although stocks are generally more risky than bonds, bonds aren't entirely risk-free, and I'll go over a few of those risks now. So the first risk I'll cover is inflation risk, and this basically means the prices of goods and services, like cars and groceries, is going up faster than the rate of interest that you're being paid. So let's take an example. Let's say that you buy a bond and it's paying a 2% rate of interest, but the prices of goods and services, like cars and groceries, is going up at a 4% rate. So what does this mean? This means that over the course of time, you'll be able to buy fewer and fewer goods and services because the rate of interest you're being paid isn't keeping up with the prices, and that's obviously not ideal. So the second risk is interest rate risk, and this means that if you buy a bond and it pays one level of interest and new bonds are now paying more interest, well then the value of your bond has gone down in value if you try to sell it. So let's just take a super simple example. Let's just say that you buy a bond for $100 and it pays 4% interest. Now new bonds start paying 10% interest. On an apples to apples basis, people aren't going to be as interested in your bond because it's not paying as much money. So what can you do if you're trying to sell your bond to someone else? You can reduce the price so that in effect those people can get paid 10% interest like the other bonds. So the third risk is credit risk, and this is when a company or government either can't or won't pay you back for whatever reason. Alright, so let's wrap this up. What is a bond? A bond means that you're lending out money in exchange for interest payments, and generally you're lending to a company or a government. Why do people invest in bonds? They invest in them because they're generally viewed as safe and they generate passive income for you. And what are the risks of bonds? The risks include interest rate risk, credit risk, and inflation risk, although that's not an exhaustive list. So should you invest in bonds? Well, that depends. If you want safety and a consistent income, then bonds might be the way to go. If you're more interested in high risk and high reward, then stocks might be the way to go. Either way, you just leveled up your personal finance game. Now, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if there's any content you want me to cover on this channel, please drop that in the comments. Until then, we'll see you on the next one.